What if I told you that the version of you that you're becoming requires the complete death of the version you've been? Nobody warns you that reinvention isn't glamorous. It's not a productivity hack. It's not a glow up. And it's definitely not that cute montage you see on TikTok with gym clips and aesthetic planners. Real reinvention, the kind that actually changes a man's life, feels like the ground collapsing under your feet. It feels like walking away from people who once felt like home. It feels like losing routines that used to define you. And it feels like looking in the mirror and not fully recognizing who's staring back. But here's the truth most men never hear: reinvention isn't a crisis. It's a rite of passage. Stoics understood this better than anyone. Because they knew something we're just now beginning to rediscover. A man begins to live the moment he stops trying to stay the same. So tonight, we're going to talk about what actually happens when a man goes through reinvention. Why it feels so brutal. Why it scares everyone around you. And how Stoic philosophy can guide you through the fire without losing yourself. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why this painful season you're in isn't the end of anything, it's the beginning of the strongest chapter of your life. There's a moment every man reaches where the life he built no longer fits. Sometimes it happens slowly. Sometimes it hits like a punch to the chest. But the feeling is always the same: I can't keep living like this. Not because everything is falling apart, but because something inside you refuses to settle anymore. The Stoics believe this internal discomfort isn't a flaw. It's a signal. Marcus Aurelius wrote that when we feel pulled forward, even by something we can't name, we must not resist it. Why? Because the pull is your nature trying to correct your life. Most men ignore this pull. They drown it in distractions, in routine, in comfort, in scrolling. They try to silence it with noise. Because if they listened, they'd have to admit something terrifying: who they are is no longer enough for who they want to be. But the moment you stop running from that truth, the reinvention begins. And this is where things get dark, not because you're broken, but because transformation always starts with subtraction. The Stoics taught that nature loves to strip away what is unnecessary. When you're reinventing yourself, you don't start by adding habits, skills, or routines. Life begins taking things away. Friends fade. Motivations crumble. Your old goals stop making sense. The things that used to excite you suddenly feel empty. You might think you're falling behind. You might think you're failing. But in reality, you're shedding a skin you've outgrown. And yes, it's lonely. Reinvention always is. Because here's something no one tells you. When you start becoming a new man, almost nobody comes with you. Not because people are cruel, but because every version of you has its own audience. Your old self attracted people who match that identity. The moment you level up, some can't relate anymore. Some feel threatened. Some try to pull you back to stay comfortable. Stoics dealt with this too. They warned that the moment a man chooses virtue, discipline, or self-mastery, he naturally outgrows anyone who feeds his weaker instincts. So if you feel isolated right now, understand this: you're not being abandoned. You're being refined. But here's where most men sabotage their reinvention. They mistake discomfort for failure. You start feeling lost, unmotivated, disconnected from everything. Your identity begins dissolving and you panic. You think something's wrong with you. But Marcus Aurelius wrote something that should be burned into your mind: the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The thing you think is blocking your progress, the confusion, the fear, the uncertainty, isn't blocking anything. It is the path. Reinvention feels chaotic because you're expanding into unknown territory. It feels slow because you're rewiring years of habits and beliefs. It feels painful because you're letting go of identities that were built to protect you, not elevate you. And the Stoics would tell you, this is exactly how it's supposed to feel. You're not lost. You're not failing. You're transitioning. Like a soldier learning to walk again after taking off the armor he's worn for years. But the real test, the one that determines who completes their reinvention and who collapses halfway, is found in one question: can you stay committed when nothing makes sense yet? Seneca wrote that a man who is improving becomes unrecognizable to himself, and that this phase must be endured with patience, not panic. But patience isn't sitting still. Patience is choosing discipline when your emotions want to give up. It's waking up early when you feel pointless. It's going to the gym when your identity hasn't caught up yet. It's working on your goals when nobody sees your effort. It's sitting with discomfort instead of running from it. And slowly, quietly, something shifts. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop clinging to who you were. You stop seeking validation from people who don't live your life. Your mind sharpens. Your energy changes. Your standards rise. And for the first time in a long time, you feel something you haven't felt in years: direction. Then comes the moment every man waits for, the moment the Stoics described as the return of inner clarity. It doesn't happen dramatically. There's no lightning strike. No epiphany. It happens on a random day. You wake up, and you finally recognize yourself again. Not the old you, but the new one. The one you fought for. The one who survived the loneliness, the confusion, the friction, the grinding silence of personal growth. This is the moment reinvention reveals its purpose. The world didn't change. Your relationship to it did. You become calmer. Harder to manipulate. Less reactive. More intentional. More dangerous in the best way. People start noticing something different about you, your presence, your discipline, your confidence, your silence. Not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you've stopped betraying yourself. And that is when a man becomes truly powerful. Not when he gets everything he wants, but when he becomes someone he respects. But the Stoic lesson doesn't end there. Because they knew something modern men forget: reinvention is not a one-time event. It's a lifelong cycle. You will outgrow yourself again. And again. And again. Every time you level up, a new identity must die. Every chapter requires a new version of you. Every ambition demands a sacrifice. And instead of fearing these transitions, Stoics embraced them. They saw each reinvention as proof that they were still alive, still learning, still evolving, still refusing to let life turn them into spectators. So if you're in that strange middle place right now, not who you were, not yet who you're becoming, don't rush it. Stay with the discomfort. Stay with the silence. Stay with the uncertainty. Because this is where men are reborn. And one day soon, you'll look back at this exact moment of your life and say, that was the season that forged me. This is the Stoic guide to surviving reinvention. Let go. Endure. Rebuild. Rise. And when you come out the other side, you won't just have a new life. You'll have a new self.